In this episode 60 of The Daily Hustle, we are closing out the series on managing your time like a billionaire, and we talk about how you can change your army's worth of work in half an hour per day.
Broadcasting from the box that rocks and Thrive15.com world headquarters, it's The Daily Hustle with Daniel McKenna.
What is going on, ladies and the dudes too? Ladies and the dudes. Episode 60 over here, Daily Hustle Show number 60. To my left, Marshall F. Wheezy. Over here, Daniel McKenna. Did you like that, Marshall F. Wheezy?
It felt good.
Okay, as long as it felt good. We're on part 3 of managing your time like a billionaire, maximizing your time productivity. If you have not seen the previous 2 episodes, the first one was all about managing your team's time and your response to that time, not being reactive. Number 2 is how you handle all those inputs, specifically a lot of emails and pings and notifications. How do you handle that in your day and actually still work on things? And in this episode, we're getting into the lists. We talked a little bit in the last episode about your long list, all the stuff that you got to do, keeping it all on the list. And now we're talking about your action list. Marshall.
That's right.
This is going to be a good one. Episode 60, by the way, is not about a year. It's not about year AD. We're back to some sports. Otto Graham.
Otto Graham.
Are you going to name your child Otto Graham?
Otto. I'd be down.
The reason I'm asking is he played for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Regarded by critics as one of the most dominant players of his era, having taken to the Browns to league championship games every year between 1946 and 1955, winning 7 of them.
7 out of 9 is pretty good.
Not too shabby. While most of his statistical records have been surpassed in the modern era, he still holds the NFL record for career average yards gained per pass attempt with 8.98. So about every time he threw the ball, on average, it went 9 yards down the field.
That's pretty impressive.
Completion. There you go. Otto Graham, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very surprised that you don't have like an Otto Graham like neck tattoo. Like a big old neck tattoo that says Otto for life.
I put it on my calf instead.
Okay. Let's go ahead and dive into the lists here, Marshall. In quick recap, the long list, your to-do list, is everything that you need to work on. This is where your brain dump goes. You come up with an idea in the middle of the day. You get something on your email. You get a phone call. It goes on your long list.
That's right.
Okay. But now we are talking about actually being productive, actually working on stuff that matters. There's probably 500 different things I could work on. What are the things that matters?
Or 107.
Or 107 specifically. And we're talking about the action list. The key to being productive is to stick to the 6 most important things you need to get done that day. The 6 is coming from this book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, Chet Holmes. 6. Now, I believe he is using 6 as a saying, focus on the most important things. This is about how much you should focus on. That's his rule. 6. Marshall, is there any specific number for you, or do you more just prioritize?
I usually say 6 to 10.
6 to 10.
Yeah, 6 to 10 is kind of my sweet spot for things that just hell or high water. I cannot leave the office unless they get completed for that day.
Okay, so off of your long list, this is how it works. Like Marshall said, he probably came into this Monday ready to do some things.
Mm-hmm.
He knew we were recording these shows. He knew he probably had some client stuff to follow up on.
Yeah.
He had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And then he got up at 4 a.m. this morning, read through emails for an hour or so, added 10 to 12 new things to do his to-do list. So how is he going to get anything done that actually matters? Because now his to-do list is up to 107.
Yep.
He's going to pick on his action list the 6, or Marshall move, 6 to 10 most important things for that day.
And specifically, I put them at the top of the list, and I number them 1 through 107.
You go that into detail.
Yeah, I put them up at the top, and then I start numbering them.
Okay.
So the reason why is I like to work from the top down.
Sure.
You work top down, and you can actually see the numbers that you're checking off. And then once you've completed all the things that have to get done for the day, you begin looking through here. What are other things that I can start knocking off the list? What are the things that I can immediately just complete it and move on? And it creates this momentum. It creates this energy. It creates this excitement of checking things off your list and the sense of achievement that is earned by getting things done.
Do you delineate at all of what things are your action list and what things are not? How do you put on your list, like, these are the 6 things I'm working on today. These are the 6 things, hell or high water, I've got to get done.
Usually, it's just the top 10.
Okay.
I know that the top 10 things have to get done that day. Whether or not they're urgent burning fires or not, that's how I kind of keep score with myself.
Do you prioritize these things each morning?
Yes.
So each morning you're looking at your long list. You're saying, these are the 6 things I've got to get done today. I'm putting them at the top of the list, 1 through 6.
Yep.
Okay. What does this allow you to do?
This allows me to be more present in the time that I am with people or working throughout the day. It allows me to not be distracted by everything that I could get done and rather focus on the things that need to get done. Because as business owners, we sometimes get distracted by all the things that we could do rather than focusing on the things that we need to do. The things that we need to do in order to advance and get the business to the next level, to get the business to where we are going. So this is hugely important for business owners that are watching. So
maybe your 6 things are things like 1, work on the client proposal. 2, fax that contract. 3, schedule some meetings. 4, conference call with Heidi. 5, review this month's marketing plan. 6, work on direct mail letter. You're identifying your most important things off that long list. What are the things I have to get done today? Put those at the top, or bold those, or separate. Okay, here's my long list. I've got this with me at all times, but I'm printing out another sheet of paper that says, these are the only things I'm focusing on today, these things. You're creating your action list, right? You're choosing proactively to say, these are the things I have to get done today.
That's right.
I have to work on these things today.
Yep.
Now, some of those things are probably going to be longer than the period of time that you have to work on. If one of your things was, I've got to redo the website, well, that's probably going to be hard to do in a day. So we'll talk about that too. With your action list, your long list becomes without your action list, your long list becomes your management tool. Anytime you have free time, you will go and try to find something on your long list to work on. But usually that means you'll just work on whatever's easy and quick, as opposed to getting things done that actually make a big difference in your business.
Yep.
Is this easy to fall into, Marshall? If you don't spend the time each morning or each night to prioritize, these are the things I got to work on, to say, every time I got a free minute, I'm going to look at the list. Okay, that one will only take me 3 minutes. I'll do that one. And then you're working on whatever's quick and easy and not necessarily like the things that matter.
As human creatures, we always gravitate towards the path of least resistance. So therefore, we're always doing the easy things, okay? Now, this, on one hand, is really good because you can create momentum for yourself, starting off with a few action items at the beginning of the day. That's the whole premise of, we talked about morning routines, making your bed in the morning. That's like the first action item of the day. And so having done that, you can then tackle everything else on your action item list.
You start feeling productive. You start getting into them.
That's right. It's something that most people, I would say, maybe don't want to do. They don't want to do. Maybe a lot of people are in the habit of doing it. I'm just like the last mover on that one. But it does create a sense of achievement. And so doing that first before the rest of your action items creates that momentum. Doing the small action items creates some momentum for you. But Lee Cockrell, the guy that ran Walt Disney World Resort as the executive vice president, he managed 40,000 people.
That's a lot.
He wrote the book Time Management Magic. It's awesome. He says, you do the hard things first, life gets easier. If you never do the hard things on your action item list, if you never do the more difficult, the higher involvement, the higher engagement action items, then you'll never actually change your business. You'll never actually complete the things that you need to complete. At one point, you deemed it vital, urgent, necessary to complete. But if you're always avoiding that big item, if you're never mentally committing to that big item, the passage of time is not going to change anything. And so you'll never actually take the steps needed to actually make the change in your business or complete the item.
Let's professionally segue without any clue to the audience here that I'm segueing perfectly into the next topic. That was pretty smooth.
That was pretty smooth.
segueing off of your subject here of doing the big things, doing the hard things, let's talk about those big things of which, if you weren't proactively scheduling this, you would potentially never work on, like writing that book, updating that website, things that you can't get done in a day. So how do we do this? Well, step number 3 of the 5 steps here. Step number 2 was the long list versus your action list. Step number 3 was you're going to plan how much time you're going to allocate to each task. You're not only going to choose your most important things, you're going to say, I'm going to spend this much time on these things. So the points are, do not think about when you will do each task just yet, not when. Just determine the amount of time you will realistically dedicate to each task. This will let you know if your 6 things can actually be accomplished that day. If one or more items are too long, determine how much time you're going to allocate to allocate to that task today. Like writing a book, producing a new marketing video, moving to the new location, expanding the business to a new state. These are big projects, stuff you can't get done in a day, right? But stuff you still need to work on. So you're going to choose your action items, your big 6, your big 5, your big 10, whatever they are. In the book, Ultimate Sales Machine, he says 6. Your big 6, and you're going to say, okay, I'm writing that book. I'm going to spend an hour today on the book. Because you realistically can't get the book done in that day, right?
Correct.
But also, if you don't spend time, if you don't like schedule time to work on the book, it's probably going to take you forever and maybe never to actually write that book.
That's right.
Okay. You are then going to add up the total amount of hours for your productivity tasks. If they're 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, it's up to your work schedule. But your 6 most important things should take up around 6-ish hours. He's saying your 6 most important things you should spend around 6 hours of planned time on. Well, why is that? Well, we're getting there, Marshall. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're working it out. Don't forget, we also have time built into the schedule for my Ask a Minute meetings. I already have time built in my schedule to answer all my emails. I probably have time built in my schedule maybe for, like maybe 12:45 to 12:48. I'm eating lunch. Maybe I've got that in my schedule, right? Like, you already have these things that are going to happen one way or the other. So now we're talking about realistically, what can we do here? You're going to add up the total amount of hours for your productivity tasks, and your 6 most important things should take up around-ish 6 hours. If you want to be captain productivity, maybe that's more like 8 hours. Maybe it's more like 9 hours that you're going to commit to like doing these things as opposed to as in addition to the emails, in addition to the meetings, in addition to the whatevers. But we're talking about creating that action list. Any thoughts on this here, Marshall, before we move on to step number 4, which is actually planning out your day? Now that we have the things.
Yeah, so when you're planning out how much time for every task, you have to be honest and you have to be candid about it. Okay, because if you're not, what you end up setting yourself up for failure. Okay, you have to be honest about what you can complete each day, and you have to set the parameters for each day. So if you say, okay, I'm going to work 10 hours today. Okay, I'm committing to working 10 hours. If each of your 6 items takes 4 hours to complete, they're big items. That's 24 hours. So it's unreasonable to expect yourself to complete all 6 of those items today. So you got to define how much you're willing to work and then slot what can be accomplished in that time.
But I'm optimistic and I'm a hard worker and I got here early this morning and I'm going to get it all done. What about that, Marshall?
Well, that's unsustainable.
So we're talking about being realistic and actually being consistent and knocking these things off your list, right?
That's right.
Okay. So you're choosing your 6 most important items. You're attributing to them how much time you're going to spend on each one of them. And now, step 4, we're planning the day. You've got your things. This is how you do your priority list in the morning here, Marshall. You've got your things. Now you're planning out your day. Not a general outline. It's meant to be specific and have a time slot for absolutely everything. This includes each of the 6 items on your list as well as time to check email, open email. Inevitably, something will come up to knock you off your plan, which is why we're going to schedule in 2 half-hour chunks of time to react that will serve as buffer to keep you on schedule. There's probably something in your email this morning that you did not plan on doing today, but probably needs your attention. And probably halfway through the day, something's going to go wrong or something new is going to happen. It's going to be a burning fire, as it is, a burning fire, right? Something that comes up that needs your attention that you're like, but my schedule said 9:30 to 10:30. I was working on the book. It is 9:45, and you are now asking me about a customer who yada yada yada. Well, how do we still stay on schedule? Well, you're going to build in your schedule 2 half-hour blocks of buffer time. 2 half-hour blocks of saying something's going to go wrong, something new is going to happen. I'm going to have to be adjustable somewhere. Okay, so let's read a little bit about. Let's talk about the schedule he has here as an example for a schedule, because there's some interesting things in here. He's got 8 to 8:30, send client proposal. 8:30 to 9, review employees' time management lists. Interesting. 9 to 11, review, revise, and fax contract. 11 to 12, lunch with client. And it goes on and goes forward, and it talks. He's got the 2 times built in there for the got-a-minute meetings and that sort of thing. Okay, so Marshall, he's talking about specifically laying out your action items. These action items are going to take me this long. I'm going to plan these things in these time slots during my day. Does this sound familiar to the Lee Cockrell system? Does this sound familiar to how Lee Cockrell does his time management mastery?
Yeah. One of the most polarizing, one of the most action-driven questions that you can ask within a business is when. When? You want to start doing business with us? Okay, when? You want to close the deal? Cool. When?
Hang on, I'm so sorry. I need a little bit of backup here. Need a little backup.
When?
Go ahead. There's a soapbox. There's a soapbox that's standing right next to your desk. Go ahead and get up on your soapbox. Go ahead and get up on that thing, and then talk to us about when.
When? You have to address when things are going to happen, because you schedule your priorities. What gets scheduled gets done. If it doesn't get scheduled, it will not get done. It's important to understand that, okay?
So it's not enough to prioritize it and say, this is something that's important today?
No, you have to say when it's going to happen, okay? Once it's made it onto your calendar and you're scheduling your action items just like you would schedule a meeting, then it becomes real. Then it becomes something that you're going to complete for the day. Then it's not your decision once that time comes. Do I complete that item or not complete that item? It's, I just need to show up to complete that item. It's something unbiased holding you accountable to getting something completed.
When you proactively choose your most important things and proactively say, this is going to take me this long, and proactively say, this is when I'm going to work on that, does that take some of the emotion out of trying to figure out what it is you want to work on?
Yes.
This, I feel like, is something that happens to a lot of people. You got your list. You're more organized than others, right? You got your list. I know the things I need to work on. But then you get to your list and you're like, what should I work on now? It's 9:30. Got a meeting at 11. Got an hour and a half. See that? No, I don't really want to work on that. No, I'll come back to that. Yeah, I guess I could start working on that. Start working on that for 10 minutes. You know what? It'd probably be more important for me to work on this instead. How much of that do you see, Marshall? Any like emotion-driven handling of the time to-do list? Do you see that?
Yeah, you have to set up these principles. You have to answer all of your emails all in one sitting. You have to assign all of the action items from the email in the same sitting. You have to schedule the time for when you're going to complete those action items all in the same setting. The reason that you do that is so that you can non-emotionally manage the rest of your day. Because if you're just managing from emotion and you're trying to be in this constant meditative state throughout the day, it's impossible, because you have to actually be mentally present around other humans, and you have to be able to knock away all of the other distractions and fight through the different adversity and the obstacles that you're dealing with that day. So it's super important that you create these systems, you create these lists to work from, you create your schedule so that non-emotionally you've already decided what you're going to be getting accomplished that day.
I love it. And that way when 10 a.m. rolls around, 10 a.m.? Oh, I'm spending the next hour writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Bam, let's do it. And it's not like a 10 a.m. What should I do? I'm going to spend 5 minutes of my free time now to figure out what I should be doing.
Right.
Awesome. Okay, we're on to step number 5 of the 5 steps here. Step number 5, after we've set up specific times, the when of when we're going to work on these priority items. Number 5, we're prioritizing these times. So these are things like, 1, putting the most important tasks first. Talking about eating the frog first. You already talked about this before, a little bit, Marshall. Most people will schedule their frog, though, at the end of the day. Their big thing, their hairy thing, the thing they don't want to work on, right? They want to work on the easy things, don't want to work on the... But then by the end of the day, there's rarely time or energy to get on that thing. And then it's like another day it's gone by without spending an hour writing the book because you didn't want to write the book. Because you're like, that's a lot of mental work. That's a lot to think about right now.
That's right.
You know the principle, 20% of your effort brings 80% of your results? You heard this?
Yes.
You heard about this thing? Okay.
The Pareto principle.
The Pareto principle.
Pareto.
Bam. You nailed it.
Thanks.
I'm proud.
Thank you.
I nailed segue in the previous episode.
Yes, you did.
I'm still living off that.
Yes.
That got my reputation wrapped around the fact that I knew how to spell segue.
Yes.
Most people drown in busy work that produces few results. So this might be your team. They are dedicated. They're working hard in their mind. They're busy. But when you look at their production, it's actually pretty low. What did you get actually done today? What did you do today? Well, I worked on this and this. What did you get done? Nothing. Okay, so we're talking about how to schedule and prioritize these items. Give us one more time here, Marshall, the recap of eating the frog first. What am I talking about when I'm talking about the frog? Why does this matter?
This is exactly what Lee Cockrell says. When you do the hard things first, life gets easier. Okay? You do the hard things first, life gets easier. Most people, they schedule their hard things last, okay? But typically those are the most adversity-ridden obstacles, difficult to address. Those are the hard items to deal with throughout the day. And if you've used all of your critical thinking and your tough decision-making for the easy things up front, then you don't have the energy to actually address the hard things at the end of the day. So it's important that you put the frog maybe at the beginning of the day or after maybe the first two easy action items so that you have the momentum going into that frog or that thing that you don't want to deal with, but you just meet that head on. And what you'll find is when you tackle that frog at the beginning of your day, that creates so much momentum moving forward through the rest of the day. Typically, it'll carry you through.
Love it. So those were the big five. Those are the big five here, Marshall. The big five of scheduling your time. We'll go and recap here one more time for you. Number 1, touch it once. Number 2, make your lists, your long list and your action list. Number 3, plan how much time you're going to allocate to each task on your action list. Number 4, plan out your day. Fit those things into specific times. You got a meeting today. You got to work around. You got a conference call. You got to work around. Figure out your day when specifically you're going to work on those things and prioritize those things. So if perhaps if sending the client proposal is one of the most important things you got to do today, even though you only got 6 things, you maybe want to send client proposal as one of the first things to do. Or if there's something about the contract that you need to fix and you really don't want to fix it and you're like, man, that's going to suck. I'm going to hate doing that. I better put that pretty early on in the day. Go ahead and tackle that. Knock it out. He had some interesting thoughts in here too about this, some real quick thoughts. They were kind of like, I wasn't 100% sure why I was in this section of the book, but he felt strongly enough to include these parts here, okay? Including things for salespeople and one-person armies. But more importantly, for what we're talking about is management and executives talking about their time management. Not you, but your other executives' time management. And how people respect what you inspect. For Chet Holmes, this was such a big deal that he made his executives, he made his management team also do this. So like not only did he do this of how he planned out his day, he also said, you have to do this. And if you notice in that example that we read earlier, he had it on here, 8:30 to 9, review employees' time management lists. Why is this such a big deal to him, Marshall? He's Captain Productivity. He's Captain Let's Get It Done. He's wrote the book on this is how you're going to be more effective with your time. But he's scheduling time in here to review other people's time management lists? What is he talking about here, Marshall?
You have to inspect what you expect. You have to inspect what you expect. And so if you're not inspecting it, your employees will not feel obligated that it is something that it is important to be completed.
Why would I, as a leader, care enough to make sure that my team is following these principles? Why would I be like, I'm going to spend part of my day, my valuable time, making sure that you have gone ahead and planned out your day well?
You have to make sure that you've planned out your day well, because ultimately the buck has to stop with somebody. And as a manager, you're expected to have some of the best time management. That is why you were in that role. But as we previously talked on past episodes, the management, the leader's job is to bring out the best, bring out the potential in all of the team members, rather than actually doing all of the execution themselves. Their job is to manage the strategy rather than be responsible for the execution of the action items.
So he was so obsessed with this that he actually created a tool for his team to use, that his key people, they were responsible for every morning adding on that list what it is I'm working on today, specifically when. He said, okay, I'm up here, my team leaders, you have to do this as well. And he spent time each day reviewing their things. Number one, because people respect what you inspect, right? Like, so he was making it a priority. He's making it that big of a deal that, hey, I care that much about you being productive. That's the word I'm looking for.
Productive.
I care that much, old Jack Taylor. I would care that much about you being productive that I'm going to spend time each day reviewing your priority list to make sure you actually did this and are actually using your time well. So one, they're going to respect the process because you're inspecting it. But two, especially with small business people, you might need to make sure that your team members are working on the most important things. Because maybe you as the leader, now I've figured it out. Now I know that I need to work on my most important things first. I've got my long list, bringing it down to my actual list. But what about your team? Your team probably has maybe not 107 things to work on, but maybe they've got 10 things to work on. And maybe they only have the time to get 2 things done today. So he's talking about nailing down even their list to make sure that they are working on the most important things. Is this something that could be valuable? Is this something that could be valuable for the people out there to kind of internalize, to say, I should have my team members also do this, and I should spend time making sure that they do this properly to work on the things that matter?
That's right. You've got to do that. When you spend an hour managing the times of others, typically the delegation, by delegating, by effectively managing, you can 1 hour of managing earns you 7 hours of delegation time. That's the average. When you're good at it, it typically earns you about 7 hours.
So you're using your team as almost like your army, right?
That's right.
It's no longer like just me, the dude, doing this thing. It's me and my army doing this thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to choose how my army uses their time to be more product. There I go. To be more productivity.
That's right.
To be more productive. Okay. That way you're multiplying your efforts.
Exactly.
That way you're working on the business instead of in the business.
Hot sizzle.
You're spending half an hour going over their lists, and that's going to control 8 hours times however many team members you have.
Boom.
So that half hour might be responsible for directing 40 hours worth of work that day.
Boom sizzle.
Kind of a big deal.
Huge deal.
Okay. That was the series on managing your time like a billionaire and maximizing your time productivity. Again, this is all from the Ultimate Sales Machine. If you read the Lee Cockrell stuff, the process is almost exactly the same.
It's weird.
If you read other people's time management stuff that have done this sort of stuff very well, it's almost exactly the same.
Almost exactly.
Because I guess because it works. I guess because it works here, Marshall.
That's right.
Okay. That was episode 60, the autogram episode, Marshall.
Autogram.
I feel like you have to either name your son autogram or go ahead with the neck tattoo.
I'll show you off camera my tattoo on my calf.
All right. Well, if you want to email and see Marshall's calf autogram tattoo, just email us in info@thrive15.com. We'll send that picture over to you. But Marshall, go ahead and break down real quick the 3 ways that we can help small business everywhere, small business owners everywhere. What do we do here at Thrive 15? What are those things?
Okay, so we do 3 things. Number 1, we do online video training. It's the world's best business school. You go online, you sign up for $1 for your first month, and you get access to thousands of video trainings taught by mentors like Michael Levine, who was the PR consultant for Michael Jackson, Nike, Pizza Hut, Cameron Diaz, Prince, a number of other celebrities. David Robinson, 2-time NBA champion. He teaches you leadership, management, working as a team, and a number of other business mentors to help you and your business grow. Number 2, we have a 2-day interactive workshop where you come out. It's about 16 hours of business coaching where we teach you the specifics, not the esoteric, vague, ambiguous concepts of what the word business means, but rather the specific things that you need to do in order to make strides in your business this year, whether it be marketing, accounting, managing your team, hiring, setting a customer acquisition cost, developing your three-legged marketing stool. We do all of these things during your 2-day workshop. And then lastly, business coaching, we make it available for you. Okay, so if you want to have a interactive business coach where you meet with weekly, that is what we do up here in the office at thrive15.com.
Boom. Boom sizzle. That was the Managing Your Time Like a Billionaire series. In the next episode, we start talking about the 7 steps you must master to become a sales machine. Marshall?
I'm excited about it.
Without sales, you will fail, is what the wise philosopher once said. So is this something that might be interesting to you?
It's very interesting.
Okay. 7 steps you must master to become a sales machine coming up in episode 61. That's it for episode 60, though. Over there to my left, Marshall F. Morris. Over here, Daniel McKenna. This has been The Daily Hustle. We'll see you next time.